Some trucks are so iconic they stand the test of time. Some may not be so iconic as others but remain as fan favorites due to their design, or even the person behind the wheel and how the truck performed. These 10 trucks, while maybe lovable to some, including myself, have been largely forgotten or overlooked. So today we list the top 10 most forgotten trucks in Monster Jam history. Before we begin, this list will solely include Monster Jam owned trucks, and it cannot be an independently owned truck. The only exception to that rule are independent trucks that are running a Monster Jam name. With that being said, on with the video. Number 10, Demolition Man. Monster Jam has never been short of stunt-only trucks, but Demolition Man might be one of the more obscure ones. Originally starting out exclusively for the Wall of Steel stunts at 3 events in 2003, it would soon become a competing truck at Pontiac 2003 and multiple events in 2004. The truck was run, funnily enough, on Mr. Destruction, which was the second Sting chassis. Mr. Destruction, of course, being the name of the stunt truck that first performed in 2001, performing the first Wall of Steel stunt. The truck would make its final appearance at Indianapolis 2008 under Bobby Z, who would perform the Wall of Steel stunt once again. Amongst the other stunt trucks, Demolition Man is definitely overshadowed by the aforementioned Mr. Destruction and multiple others. However, it still deserves to make this list. Number 9, Big Bash League. In Australia, we love our cricket. Well, I don't, which probably will infuriate every single Australian that clicked on this video. However, the closest I've come to enjoying cricket is the short-lived Big Bash League truck. We've actually mentioned it before on this channel, as the former Doomsday chassis from 2014 was shipped over to Australia to run the name. The KFC T20 Big Bash League is the name of a cricket league run in Australia, and in 2014 they decided to partner up with Monster Jam. It was run only for the duration of the Australian tour for 2014 and was driven by Mark McDonald. What is most interesting about the truck is the fact that the design changed for each stop, although it wasn't a major change. Depending on where on the tour it was performing, the truck would adorn the hometown team's brand and colours. For stop 1 in Brisbane, it ran Brisbane Heat stickers. For stop 2, it ran Melbourne Renegade stickers. For stop 3, it ran Adelaide Strikers stickers. And for stop 4, it ran Sydney Thunder stickers. The truck only won, coincidentally enough, in my hometown of Brisbane, as it won racing and freestyle. Ironically enough, the actual cricket league itself is sponsored by BKT Tires, so I'd love to see a return of this truck. But the likelihood of that happening is the same as Monster Truck fans not complaining about fan judging. The only reason why this truck isn't higher on this list is due to the fact that for many Australians, especially for myself, this truck is so unforgettable. Number 8, Zombie Hunter. Zombie Hunter is one of the more unique trucks that Monster Jam has come out with. With Lee O'Donnell in need of a new ride after Iron Man had been retired, Zombie Hunter became his truck for the 2015 season. The truck uses a 2008 Ford F-150 body with a custom front clip, and later on added weapon attachments and ran on a first generation CRD chassis for its entire lifespan. The truck is incredibly bizarre since it was never announced or shown off publicly until its debut, and is believed to be a failed sponsorship between Dodge Ram and Monster Jam. The truck, however, quickly became a fan favorite to some and even traveled overseas and competed in the 2015 Australian tour, which I was able to see. In 2016, O'Donnell had joined the VP Racing Fuels team to drive the Mad Scientist truck, so newcomer Miranda Kozan drove the truck in multiple arena events across the country. For its few appearances in stadium events, it would have fill-in drivers like Joe Sylvester and Steve Kohler to step in to drive the truck. Truck, over the course of its 2 years in competition, would gain more and more weapons to add to the truck's aesthetic. By late 2015, it had gained the turret on the roof. Then by 2016, it featured an axe on the side of the truck, and for the World Finals during its display, it had all of its promised attachments on the truck, including the axe on the back and the small gun on the side. With the truck only running a handful of events and really only remembered for its cool looks and its 1 year of stadium competition, that is why it's on this list. Number 7, Bauhaus. Named after the Swedish hardware store of the same name, Bauhaus competed only in Stockholm, Sweden from 2014 to 2016. The truck was run on B.J. Johnson's Mohawk Warrior in 2014 and 2015, and run on Team Hot Wheels Firestorm in 2016. In 2014, the truck was campaigned by European Monster Jam driver Nick Grunland, with George Balhang campaigning the truck in 2015, and Alex Danielsson, a Swedish Monster Jam driver, drove it at its final event in 2016. Like Big Bash League, with the truck only being run in Sweden, it's hard for anyone outside of Europe to really remember this truck, and that's why it deserves to be on this list. Number 6, Runners. Keeping the theme of international-only trucks, Runners is another obscure international truck that was run for the 2013 Mexican tour. Runners was named after the snack food of the same name and was run on what was formerly Blacksmith. This isn't the only international truck based on a food item, as Beefy was based on the beef jerky snack of the same name. However, was only run for a single show, and as such, it did not make this list. Runners, however, ran more than one show, and it was campaigned by Aaron Basil. The only other notable things about the truck worth mentioning was the truck was featured in an advertisement for the Runners brand, and for some reason the pit party had Runners branded models posing next to the truck. Runners was later discontinued and is honestly incredibly forgettable, due to the truck never being seen on TV outside of the advertisement, which to my knowledge only was used in Mexico, and the truck itself never competed outside of the 2013 Mexican tour. Number 5, AMERIQUEST Freedom. Nothing accentuates monster trucks more than a mortgage company, right? Well, definitely not. Mortgages and monster trucks go about as well together as Tom Men's driving Yeah, okay, I kind of forgot about that one. Anyway, AMERIQUEST Freedom is one of the older trucks on this list, and for good reason. Despite having the longest television time out of all the trucks mentioned on this list, it's honestly one of the more forgettable trucks. The truck made its debut at World Finals 5 in the pit party, and later debuted in Fresno, California with Chad Fortune behind the wheel. The truck was first run on Demolition Man for World Finals, then on Power Forward with Chad Fortune behind the wheel, before then being campaigned by Troy DuBois on what was formerly Wolverine. For its final show in Minneapolis in December of 2004, the truck would be run on George Balhan's Blue Thunder and was retired afterwards. The truck would be televised in the aforementioned Minneapolis show and Montreal of 2004. And the truck really didn't do anything of note or appear anywhere notable outside of the World Finals and its 2 televised appearances. To this day, it's one of the more forgettable sponsored trucks, and that's why it's a perfect candidate for this list. Number 4, 105.9, Paul and Young Ron. With monster trucks and radio stations heavily intertwined, it's no surprise that stations have wanted to get their name on the side of a 12,000-pound Monster Jam truck. However, amongst the numerous radio station themed trucks like 106.7 The Fox, Bob and Tom, and especially The Rod Ryan Show, 105.9 Paul and Young Ron is definitely the most obscure one. The truck was specific to Florida and has only competed in 3 events to this day, with those being Sunrise 2012, Miami 2012, and Miami 2013. At each of the 3 events, it was run on a different chassis. For Miami 2012, it was run on Spike Unleashed and driven by Jeff Anderson, with Miami 2013 being driven by Dan Evans and run on his Cohen Blue Thunder chassis. And for Sunrise 2012, it was run on Captain's Curse and driven by Alex Blackwell. Honestly, I had never heard of this truck up until the making of this video, and with it only being televised once, and in that episode it was mostly glanced over, I'm sure most of you watching at home either forgot about this truck or didn't even know it existed. Number 3, Total Chaos. The story of Total Chaos is very intriguing. The truck's origins came about through discussing how fan favorite and now retired truck Rage and Steel and how its design was bland. Andrew Felix, a Clear Channel Entertainment coordinator, pitched the idea of a truck called Total Chaos to Brian Barthel, and a year later, Felix's dream was made into reality. The truck was run on a Barthel chassis and competed for the entirety of the 2005 season. It was originally a teammate truck to Barthel's Little Tiger, however it would run solo after Barthel retired from the sport earlier in the season. The truck would be retired later that year, and in 2006, it served as the temporary replacement chassis for Randy Moore's War Wizard, after he had completely wrecked the truck in Atlanta. It would then be converted into multiple different identities on the independent circuit, and now is Elliot Miller's Sinistar. The truck was never shown on TV, and to most who aren't from the virtual monster truck modding scene, the truck is very much a forgettable identity. Number 2, Tasmanian Devil. We all know Taz. It's the catalyst that kickstarted Adam Anderson's career, and it's become so iconic amongst the fan base. With the combination of both Warner Brothers discontinuing their contract with Monster Jam and Anderson starting to campaign Gravedigger the Legend in 2011, Monster Jam decided to redesign and rename the truck to what would become known as Tasmanian Devil. The truck was named after the DC superhero of the same name. The truck only ran for just over a year, with multiple drivers behind the wheel. It was driven at first by Nicole Johnson, who drove it for the entire 2011 season and into 2012, until she joined Team Advanced Auto Parts Grinder to fill in for an injured Frank Krimmel. Taking Johnson's spot would be Taryn Lasky, who would drive it until Krimmel returned to Grinder, where Johnson would once again take the reins of Tasmanian Devil. The truck was later retired, despite still appearing in the Monster Jam yearbooks for 2013 and 2014. With it being the predecessor to Taz, and the fact that it was almost primarily driven in arenas with a few exceptions, the truck has been largely forgettable and overlooked, especially compared to its championship winning cousin. Number 1, T-MAXX / E-MAXX. At number 1, we have arguably the most forgettable truck in Monster Jam history. Of course, excluding the one-show-only trucks. Traxxas has been largely involved in the monster truck scene for quite some time, originally sponsoring the Traxxas T-MAXX owned by Sudden Impact Racing, though not to be confused with the truck that we're about to talk about. For the 2011 European Tour, Monster Jam debuted Traxxas E-MAXX, which was campaigned on Mark McDonald's former PEI El Toro Loco chassis, and was driven by a multitude of drivers, including but not limited to Dustin Brown, Lindsay Wink, Frank Krimmel, and Dan Evans. A year later, the truck was renamed to Traxxas T-MAXX, which again is not to be confused with the SIR truck that debuted years prior. Feld's rendition of T-MAXX was run on John Seesock's CRD chassis, and was run by Seesock himself for the entire 2012 European Tour. The truck was later retired and has never been ran since. Not only was E-MAXX an incredibly forgetful name, and most people think of the Sudden Impact Racing version of T-MAXX, only adding to the forgettability, is why this truck is the prime candidate for the most forgettable truck in Monster Jam. And well, that is all we have for you today. Thank you everyone all so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon with some more monster truck content.